once again to the video. A little bit of a shorter video today, I think, on the Grand Prix because my voice is a little bit shot to pieces. My voice is gone, so it won't be as long as normal. Maybe that's a good thing. Okay, less ranting by me. So, yes, welcome to the video. Thank you for joining me. In this video, I will be continuing my look at the 2025 Formula One World Championship. Each race in turn, as I do every year. I've done for the last few years. What I normally do, and what I will do this time as well, is a rundown of the finishing order, then top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, then a rundown of the Constructors' Championship. Okay, so let's dive in first with those rundowns from what was, of course, round 3. The Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. Now, I need to do my usual routine with the focus. Very important. Get the focus right. Okay, so first place was Verstappen. Norris. Piastri. Leclerc. Russell. Antonelli. Hamilton. Hadjar. Okay, let's do the old focus again. Very important. Very important to get the old focus in line. Okay. 9th was Albon. 10th was Bearman. Alonso. Tsunoda. Gasly. Sainz. And then we had Doohan. Hulkenberg. Lawson. Ocon. Bortoleto. And Stroll. Okay. So now let's do the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. So we have... let's check the focus once again like we normally do. Normally do this, don't we? There we go. Second is Verstappen. Oh, I haven't put the points, have I? 62. Verstappen's on 61. Third place is, who's third? Piastri. On 49. Russell, 45. Antonelli. 30. 1-0. Okay, so I won't talk for long because of my voice. And everything else. But let's have a look, see. So let's put down, so it's 1 win for Norris so far, 1 for Verstappen, 1 for Piastri, it's 2 for McLaren, 1 for Red Bull. Mercedes still comfortably ahead of Red Bull after 3 races, because of course Red Bull struggling with their second driver, of course. Every race makes Perez look better and better. I think Antonelli got the fastest lap, didn't he? Did he get the fastest lap? I have a history of putting down the wrong fastest lap. Should we continue that history? I'm going to put Antonelli. There's a good chance that's wrong, knowing me. So, what did we think of that race? Dearie me, I did take a few notes, but there's only a few. It's the first time on a permanent racetrack. Let me just get the focus, make sure the focus is definitely right. It's the first time on a permanent racetrack that the top 6 on the grid have remained in the top 6 at the finish. It's happened at Monaco, and it happened at Monaco last year apparently, and it happened in Singapore 1 year as well. I think that's amazing. First time on a permanent racetrack. That's incredible. And it would have been the top 10, possibly lower than the top 10. I don't know where Alonso qualified. I think he was a bit lower, wasn't he? But the only position change in the top 10 was Hamilton getting past Hadjar, or Hadjar, as David Croft likes to pronounce his name, Hadjar. Whereas it's actually Hadjar. That always grates me with me whenever I hear that. Hadjar, what a fantastic drive by him. Qualified in 7th. Yeah, he did qualify 7th in the year, because then he swapped with Hamilton. Qualified 7th, was strong throughout the whole race. He looks really, really, really good. I think he's getting patronised quite a lot, I have to say, by commentators and pundits. Everyone wants to put their arm around him and give him a big hug, because of what happened in Australia. Well, that's happened to drivers before, even on their first Grand Prix. If I was him now, I'd be starting to get a little bit irritated by that. I'm sure at the time it was great what, for instance, Anthony Hamilton gave him a big old bear hug and whispered something in his ear and everything. That would have been very comforting for Hadjar at the time, but he wants to quickly move on from that and forget about that. So if I was there in the paddock talking to Hadjar, I would talk to him like any other driver. I wouldn't say, "Well done, young man. What you must be so happy. Here's a lollipop." I would want to, not patronise him anymore. Australia was Australia. It happened. It happens to all the drivers. Well, not all the drivers on their first race, but it has happened plenty of times before. So let's move on and treat him with clearly the respect he deserves. 8th place, fantastic result, from 7th on the grid. Really, really good. You could argue it's a bit embarrassing to be overtaken by Hamilton's Ferrari at the moment, but still, fantastic result. And way ahead of Lawson, down in the 17th spot. Who had I don't really know what went wrong with his race, but a lot. He qualified ahead of Tsunoda, didn't he, Lawson? I think he was on the grid alongside Tsunoda, which leads us on to Tsunoda. Fantastic in practice. He seemed to get to grips with the car really, really well. I thought this is really good. Maybe they've hit the right drive here, and maybe they still have. And he's just had a bad race. I think that's all it is. I mean, the Red Bull is a tough one to drive. So the encouraging thing is that he doesn't seem too downbeat. He doesn't like the result, 12th, the fact that he didn't get any points, but he's happy with how he drove the car. And I think that's good. I think that's a good sign. he's not getting depressed already after just one race. So I think overall that's a good performance by Tsunoda. What I thought was a bit odd, but I thought it was very odd that they swapped Lawson for starters. That happened since I last did a video on the Grand Prix, didn't I, on the Chinese Grand Prix. And I remember saying it'll never happen. They'll never swap. No chance, not a chance. They'll swap Lawson for Tsunoda, and they did. So I was completely wrong. But you know, I'm just a fan. I'm not in the know. But I do think I think that was very strange. And now, of course, people are saying, oh, well, of course, they should have put Tsunoda in the car last year, blah, blah, blah. I still say that they should have put Lawson in. I still think it was the right decision to put Lawson in. Lawson drove extremely well in the RB last year when he came in for Ricciardo. Arguably outdrove Tsunoda, or at least matched him. And I would say Lawson seemed to be the stronger as well mentally. Less prone to emotional outbursts like Tsunoda. So I thought that was I still think it was the right decision to put Lawson in the car. And I think they should have left him in there for half the season until sort of the summer break. Give him until the summer break. Of course, the problem is Red Bull are desperate to not lose the Constructors' Championship again simply because they've only got one driver. But at the end of the day, they designed the car around Verstappen, don't they? Obviously, the second car can have different settings and setups, but the basic car, which is a pointy, squirty front end, twitchy car, which is exactly what Verstappen likes, that's all been designed for Max. So these second drivers are desperately trying to drive the Max ball, and that's proving very difficult. They've said that Tsunoda has got till the end of the year, but didn't they say, Lawson, here you go, you've got a contract for 2025? Or did they say to Lawson, you've only got the first two races? I don't know. But what a great performance by Hadjar. Maybe stick Hadjar in the Red Bull, eh? Maybe in a few races' time they will be putting Hadjar in the Red Bull. Who knows? But I hope that Tsunoda can stop the rot. Could be argued, of course, that Perez has stopped the rot because he was winning races, but maybe the Red Bull was easier to drive up until 2024, maybe. Up until 2023, maybe the Red Bull was easier to drive. Up until Miami 2023. That's sort of when Perez fell off the cliff, wasn't it? Miami 2023 onwards. So we'll see what happens with Tsunoda, but I don't think that's a bad result by Tsunoda. People will raise an eyebrow because they'll say, well, Lawson was 12th in China and now Tsunoda is 12th in Japan. But I still think it's not a bad performance considering how he was in practice. So let's give Tsunoda at least until Bahrain to prove himself. And if he hasn't done that by then we can always put Hadjar in the car for Saudi Arabia. Verstappen. What a fantastic drive that was. Well, it was a fantastic qualifying session. Basically, really good qualifying. Let me just have a little drink of my ginger tea, which I always say that I drink. Yes, a great performance by Verstappen in qualifying, because it seems to be very, very difficult to overtake this season. The cars are so evenly matched. It was difficult in China. I mean, Hamilton won the sprint race comfortably because he put in a fantastic qualifying performance to take pole in the sprint. And he was in clean air and he pulled away and won. And the same thing was here. Verstappen was in clean air. Now, had Norris got past him in the pits, there was no room to get past him in the pits. I don't know what Norris was doing there. I have no idea what Norris was up to there. That was sort of a little bit reminiscent of last year, although this time I would say it wasn't Verstappen's fault at all. It was Norris going for a gap that wasn't there. Had Norris managed to get past Verstappen in the pits, even though there was no room, then Norris would have probably won the race. Such was the difficulty in overtaking. So yes, a great lesson in concentration by all three drivers. Verstappen had to not make any mistakes whatsoever. Norris had to not make any mistakes whatsoever to stay in touch and to stay ahead of Piastri. So all three drivers were on the edge all the way through, and that showed great concentration. But really, the race was won in qualifying. Obviously, the assertion, there's a lot of talk about how McLaren made a big mistake in the strategy. Andrea Stella is saying that they couldn't have let Norris go long at the pit stop. They had to bring him in at the same time as Verstappen, because had he gone long, Verstappen would have been a lot quicker on his new hard tyres, because Stella is saying that George Russell was very quick on his new hard tyres. But also Antonelli was very quick on his old medium tyres. So I don't think they can just go by what happened to Russell. So, and why didn't they just throw the dice? All three cars were way ahead of Leclerc. Throw the dice, you know? And I thought that's what they were going to do. I thought, they brought Piastri in early. I thought, okay, the leader or the car in front always gets the choice as to whether or not he wants to come in first or second. So I thought Norris has chosen to stay out and go long, which he often did last year. So that's why I thought Piastri's come in first. Also, the undercut wasn't working at all. So, because there wasn't much tyre dig, basically. So the undercut wasn't really working. So that's not why they brought Piastri in early. They just brought him in because one of them had to make a pit stop. Let's split strategy. So Piastri comes in first to attempt the undercut, even though it was very unlikely. And we'll keep Norris out there for the overcut. And I thought when Verstappen came in, I thought, right, here we go. It's hammer time, for Norris. And we're going to see Norris pump in some really fast laps. A split second later, I see that Norris is in the pits. What's going on? Why is Norris in the pits at the same time as Verstappen? I thought that was odd at the time, and of course everyone's talked about that since. What on earth were McLaren doing? They should have split the strategy. One go for the undercut, one go for the overcut. Instead, they ended up both behind Verstappen in his dirty air for the second half of the race as well. So there you go. Now, a lot of Piastri fans would say that Piastri was clearly quicker than Norris. Was he quicker than Norris? I don't think so. I think they were level on pace in this race, like they've been level on pace all year. Norris was backing off from Verstappen for two reasons. One, to save his tyres for an attack in the last 10 laps of the race. And the second reason, the less public reason, is because he wanted to damage his teammates' tyres by backing himself into Piastri a bit. I'm sure that's what it was all. I'm sure that's what it was about, to sort of damage Piastri as well as to, in order to defend himself from Piastri, because at the end of the day, he knows that he's in a championship hunt with probably just between Norris and Piastri. Yeah, Verstappen is right there at the moment, and the updates on the Red Bull might prove very good, who knows, but from what we've seen so far, we have to say it's a McLaren battle for the championship. So why wouldn't he try and hamper his teammate? So I don't think that was, I think that was Norris keeping his powder dry, not because Piastri was faster. That's certainly what the team think as well. I think they're level on pace. But some people out there, Piastri fans will obviously think that Piastri was way quicker. Not really much happened in the race. As I say, Hamilton got past Hadjar. That was all there was to it. There wasn't any overtaking in the pits even, because, as I say, the undercut wasn't working. The new tyres were struggling to warm up and there wasn't much tyre degradation. The overcut may well have worked for Norris had McLaren done it, but they chose not to for some strange reason. Antonelli also did a fantastic race. Very good. I said that he was going quick on his mediums before he stopped. He was the youngest driver to ever lead a Grand Prix, and he was closing in on Russell. He only got beaten by Russell by about 1 second in the end. So a very strong performance by Antonelli. Very strong. But Russell will be very happy this year that he's managed to beat Antonelli in every qualifying and every race. So he's doing well, and the sprint race as well. So Russell will be happy that he's keeping Antonelli in check. But this race in particular, Antonelli looked very strong, I thought. What else did I leave notes about? Hamilton after the race said that there was an issue with the car that had been identified and was hopefully going to be fixed in time for Bahrain. But a headline that I saw was saying that it was a problem specifically with his Ferrari and not Leclerc's. But when I listened to what he said in the pit area, the practice, I don't know what they call it, the press pit area, the mosh pit, whatever they call it, he didn't mention anything about it being just his car. He said the car. So does he mean the team have identified an issue on both Ferraris, or does he mean just his car? Either way, his car should be faster in Bahrain, as well as possibly Leclerc's if it's an actual team problem rather than just on his car. Who knows? I really hope. I mean, Leclerc was in clear air for much of that race because he was a long way behind Piastri, and yet still he couldn't get up there. Strong performance by Leclerc, as in stronger than Hamilton. He was better in qualifying than Hamilton. And I think by about half a second, quicker than Hamilton, which would of course be, would be comfortably more than whatever this problem is. I'm sure half a second is more than what the problem is. So yeah, Leclerc definitely outdrove Hamilton in this race. But he was still comfortably beaten. He finished, I think, 15 seconds behind Piastri. Strong performance by Bearman, getting into the top 10, 10th place. Alonso's woes continue, 3 races without a point. Sainz's woes continue as well. 14th, he started on softs, didn't he? I think he went softs and then he went on to hards. It just didn't work for him, the softs. Stroll, he started on softs. He had 2 pit stops. Nothing worked for him either, but Stroll nevertheless has had a good start to the season so far. First 2 races anyway. Doohan had a big accident in practice, but the Alpines are not doing anything at the moment, are they? 13th and 15th, dearie me. Just like last year, they had a terrible start last year. It took them ages to score a point last year as well. And yet they still finished, I think, 6th, was it, in the championship? Because they had that 2nd and 3rd in Brazil. So, I don't think I'm going to talk much longer because my voice is done, but let me just have a look at do I have any more notes? Yeah, so this felt very much again like last year. Missed opportunity by the team, allowing Verstappen to win when he was only marginally quicker and might not have even been quicker in the race. The McLarens could well have, and probably were, the quicker car. It's just great qualifying by Verstappen and great head strength to hold off those McLarens for 54 laps. He just doesn't seem to make mistakes. He did in his early years, Verstappen, but he just doesn't make mistakes now. He's bulletproof. So there you go. Very reminiscent of last year, especially when Norris did some off-roading. Now, last year, of course, that was normally because Verstappen had decided to quickly jink to the right and push him off the track. But this year, on this race, Verstappen didn't do anything wrong at all. Certainly didn't push him off. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. The next race is just a week away, Bahrain, so very exciting. Let's look forward to seeing if this problem with the Ferrari, either Hamilton's or Hamilton's and Leclerc's, has been fixed, which Hamilton seems to think will be the case. I think he mentioned it'll be a 10th quicker as well. I don't know how he can, that's obviously just a guess on his part, but yeah, we'll see. 10th is not enough though, I'm afraid. It's not enough. Okay, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and if you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like the video, or comment, or leave a tip on the thanks button below the video, and I will see you on the very next video next week. Well, I'll see you before then on Saturday with a non-F1 video. Right, goodbye for now.